Hello viewers, my name is Kujo Vanes. I'll be your facilitator for the compensation and benefits training, which is on the 27th and 28th April, organized by SEDAT at the Crystal Palm Hotel at Tesano. This is going to be a time for HR practitioners to have hands-on experience on how to design a compensation and benefits policy, how to design the payroll, how to even design a salary structure. We have done this training for the past 4 years, and I can confidently tell you that every single person that has participated in this training currently is able to design their own payroll, design their own salary structure, and do not entirely need any consultant. So I encourage each and every one of you to register. You can look down there, you get the information needed to register. Make the call SEDAT, and let's meet on the 27th and 28th.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to SEDAT HR Digest, where we discuss relevant topics on people and organizational matters to help us build solid work environment that impacts positively on the bottom line and the people we work with. SEDAT HR Digest is brought to us by SEDAT Consult and Quick Fix Creatives. You can contact SEDAT Consult on 0244 629245, 0244 629245 for all your people and organizational needs, and also Quick Fix Creatives on 055 209 0057, 055 209 0057. Today we are looking at a very interesting thing. It's a quick Q&A session. Today we are saying that we want to answer the questions that are bothering your mind, the things that are giving you sleepless nights in your HR practice. And we have solid experts on board this afternoon who will be helping us answer our questions for today. Don't forget to leave your name and location in the comments box. We want to acknowledge you and also welcome you. And if you have any contribution or any other question while the conversation is going on, please drop it in the comment section. We would read it out for resource persons or our facilitators to respond to you as the discussion is going on. Today, we are just going to answer the questions that we received from you. And so please, we want you to stay glued to your sets as we go through and answer your questions for you. All right, Josephine Aqua, you're welcome. I can see you. And whilst we get ready to go to start the discussion, I want to remind you of the upcoming training on how to design competitive salary grading or salary structure on the 27th and 28th of April at Crystal Palm Hotel. We are closing registration. And so please, if you haven't registered yet, do well to register. The link will be posted in the comment box. Click on it and register. You would never regret. Hands-on practical session on how to design a competitive salary grading and structure for your organization. I see Michael. Michael, thank you for joining us. And if today is the first time you are watching us, today is the first time coming on board at HR Digest, we want to specially welcome you. And we promise you, you will never regret participating in today's episode. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on all our social media handles. We are learning. We are on learning and we are relearning, and you don't want to have this alone. Share, comment, invite people to participate and have the knowledge you are enjoying here. Today, our guests, we have two guests for today, and I'm super excited because they are here to help us to answer all our questions. Dora Sianlate is a human resource practitioner with over 20 years of continuous experience. Dora is a chartered HR and a member of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. She holds an MBA in ADR from University of Ghana and listed as a certified arbitrator and a mediator with the Ghana National Labour Commission, Class A. And trust me, Dora has a lot of experience in various industries. She is the past president of the Accra chapter of the Institute, the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana. And so we are excited to have Dora in the studio. Dora, you are welcome to Sadat HR Digest.
Thank you, Pat. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Right.
It's wonderful having you. Our next guest is no new face. We've been seeing him over and over at Sadat HR Digest. He's been on several times to discuss HR topics and HR issues with us. Jeffrey Boham is a global learning and development business project management and general human resource management, and he practices in the US of A. He holds 3 master's degree in business, HR management and development, and also in instructional design. Jeff is also a certified HR with SHRM, SCP. He also has certification in SPHRI and holds HRCI and PMP certification. Charlie, the man wants to go everywhere. So you're welcome, Jeff. We are happy to have you once again. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for honoring our invitation anytime we call on you.
Thank you, Madam Patience.
All right, so today's episode, we have questions that we have received from our viewers, and they need answers to. And so we are going to read out the questions out to you, and then you would help us answer them. In the course of the discussion, we will be having some questions that will come in the comment section. I'll read them out to you, and then you will help us answer it. And so to help start our conversation for this afternoon. All right, Zachary says, hello. Hi, Zachary, you're welcome. Right, so this question is in 2 parts, and the first part I would like Jeff to answer, and then Dora will come in with the second part, which has got to do with the labor aspects of the question. So the person says, should an employee who exits an organization in the middle of the month be paid full salary?
Well, thank you very much. I think it depends. You know, the answer to every question in life is it depends. It depends on the company. It depends on the policies. It depends on whatever it is. However, let's step away from HR and think about this just logically and in everyday terms. Okay. If a person works halfway through, generally, I would expect that there is some prorated compensation. Okay, if you work 15 days out of 30, and if the plan was to pay you 100 Ghana, it's only fair to at least give the person 50 Ghana. But in general, what happens is if people are leaving fairly, they typically would give about 2 weeks and things like that. So it comes down, I think it should be prorated. This is my personal opinion. I think it should be prorated. But again, it also depends on the terms of the conversation. It depends on the terms of the person's contract. And some companies, and it depends even on what the person or why the person is leaving. If a person has to leave because the person, for example, was caught stealing, okay, you can't come and be demanding money when you were caught stealing. You know, things like that. So I think this is, for me, the way I look at this from a general point of view, this is really something that will depend on the company. It will depend on the policies. It will depend on the contract that the person has. It depends on so many other things that we have to look at the specifics of the case to determine what the best thing to do will be in that case.
All right. And then the next part of the question, Dora, the person says that what does the labor say about this? I guess you want to say what does the Labor Act say about this and the section that deals with this.
Yeah, but I haven't, I may be wrong, but I haven't come across any provision in the Labor Act about that issue. There may be, but I haven't come across it. In my working life, I've always prorated persons or employees who exit in the middle of the month. So I've not seen any provision in the Labor Act that supports that assertion. Yeah.
All right. All right. So Dora says that she hasn't come across. If maybe you are watching us here and you have seen anything like that, you can share with us. And then, Jeff, in the US, do you have laws that speak to how this should be handled?
Well, there are so many laws, and I think the employee relations folks will be the ones to get. You see, the laws in the US are multi-tiered. There are federal laws, there are state laws, there are jurisdictional laws, there are a whole lot of things. So if people are leaving and they want to get into litigation, sometimes the courts will have to be the final arbiter in these cases. So that's why I said it depends. There's a myriad of laws involved in some of these things. However, we also, one thing I know is at will employment is pretty huge in the US, and people can just say, you know what, I just want to walk away. I don't want XYZ. I don't want to do ABC. I wouldn't know, I would say, the specific laws governing a particular situation unless I see the situation. And a person may be a good lawyer in Maryland, but may not understand the legal, I would say, constructs and the legal challenges in Florida. So it's very, very complicated here in the US is what I'm trying to say.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've scanned through the LI. I'm not seeing anything as well. So if anybody has seen something like that, they can volunteer that information from the section. Thank you.
Sure. Right. So another person says that, and this question goes to Dora. I said, is it legal to suspend an employee?
Yeah, thank you very much, Pat, for that question. Well, so we know that in every organized establishment, there should be policies and procedures to guide employment relations, including disciplinary policies for discipline and all that. So normally offenses are categorized largely into two. We have major offenses, we have minor offenses. So the basic one of the minor offenses is like a verbal warning. If the person, the employee does something that is, a minor offense, you just give the verbal warning. The next step is a written warning. And the next step that you can go is to suspend the person. There is no legal backing for this, but it is by practice. You can suspend an employee for committing an offense which can be categorized as minor. And you can suspend an employee with or without pay, depending on what the employer wants to do. Thank you. So it's legal, well, legal in quotes because there's no law backing it. But in practice, yes, an employer can suspend an employee for a minor sanction, a minor offense. So that would be a minor sanction, the suspension. Thank you.
All right. So Dora has given us the minor, and I think depending on the industry, you would want to determine which activities goes under, or which offenses goes under minor and which offenses go under
Absolutely,
major.
absolutely, yeah.
Right. So, and I believe the person is watching us and has heard your response. And then before I move to Jeff, Dora, there is another question here, and this is on severance calculation. The person
All right.
says, how do we calculate severance in terms of redundancy for employees?
So our Labor Act Section 65 says that if there is redundancy, the redundancy pay, the severance package should be is one that has to be negotiated between the employer and the person who has been declared redundant, or the group of persons. So once the redundancy package has been negotiated, then, for instance, it could be 2 months base salary for each year of service, or 1 month base salary for each year of service. So once that has been established, the calculation is very simple. 1 month base salary for each year of service. So for instance, if my base salary is 5,000 Ghana cedis, and I work for 20 years, you multiply the 20 by my base salary. That's it. As simple as that. So it's based on the negotiated rates. That's all. Thank you.
Right. So the severance calculation is based on the negotiated rate. But Dora, some people, the Act says that in contemplating on closing
The
down
severance package.
or retrenching people, laying off people, and that you give 3 months notice to the chief labor officer. Some people take that as the basis, sees that it should be part of the calculated severance. So they see the 3 months notice to the chief labor officer in the event where your activity would have to take place and you may not be able to satisfy that 3 months, and you want to give an in lieu of notice. They see it as that 3 months should be should be used for the calculation. I don't know if you get my question. Is that right?
I don't think it's right. It's a bit bizarre. It's not right. How can that be the practice? So the Labor Act has not said that 3 months should be the negotiated package. Otherwise, they would have written it in black and white. You understand? So we cannot begin to introduce new things into the Act. And I mean, practically, it doesn't make a lot of business sense. You understand? So if at the time of declaring redundant, the strength of the organization will determine how much they can pay to the group of persons who are being declared redundant. You understand me? So it's a matter, once that's been stated in black and white, that is subject to negotiation, then that's it. We shouldn't begin to speculate and introduce new things that will create problems for all of us. So I do not agree to that suggestion. Thank you.
All right. So Jose says that Dora and Jeff, we are proud of you and look forward to receiving great solutions to our work-related challenges. Josephine says termination in the Labor Act 2003 as 651, and then she quoted again Section 18. Josephine, if you can help with which of the discussions you are helping with the section in the Act. I don't know if it's in relation to the question that was asked about if full salary should be, if somebody exits in the middle of the month, we should pay full salary, or it's in relation to the suspension issue. So please come again so that I can read out your contribution to our facilitator. Now, Jeff, so another person wants to know, how do you handle a CEO who does not support HR activities?
A CEO who doesn't support HR activities? Well, my first question is, even rationally, why did the CEO hire HR in the first place? You should support HR to hire HR, right? I mean, think about it. Work is about people, okay? You can buy machines, factors of production, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, but it's the people that make the societies, the people that make the companies run. And the CHR, the chief executive officer, is actually a part of HR. So if I'm understanding the question, is the question asking that the CEO may not maybe resource HR, or is the question trying to emphasize that the CEO may not support HR issues? I think HR issues are fundamental issues when it comes to bringing people into the organization, when it comes to creating the right environment, when it comes to developing people within the organization, when it comes to getting people out of the organization in a respectful way. Okay, HR has a function to play in all these key activities. So it will be surprising to me that any CEO would not support HR. Okay, some organizations might say they are sales-based organization. Some organizations might say they are technology-focused organization. They can say, okay, we place premium and preference on XYZ more than the human capacity. But at the end of the day, I don't think any CEO would not show interest in HR. But if any CEO does, I would say the person should not be CEO. Because truth of the matter is that it's the people who make the organizations run. So I'm trying to really understand the rationale for that question, or the intent or the expectation around that question. And I'm questioning if this actually happens. Do CEOs not show interest in HR?
I see Dora smiling. I'm sure Dora would add some.
Yeah, so Jeff, in a part of the world, yes. HR, like if you compare accounting, some of the professions, HR is relatively young, for want of a better word. You understand? So some of the for instance, the one-man business, for want of a better one-man business people, some of them don't, understand the HR properly. So some tend to, like not wanting to follow the Labor Act and all that. You can get quite a few of them, because now it's catching up. People are getting to know that without HR, you stand to, your business stands to collapse or whatever. So people are coming on board, but still here in our part of the world, there are some employers, some CEOs who don't, they don't even recognize the position of HR, let alone buy into the HR policies and procedures. Thank you.
I would call those people practicing their hobbies. Some people might call them independent business owners. These are people. For me, my thing is, again, it really depends on how people understand HR to be. There are people I know back in Ghana. There are people who say Juma, those are people dealing with one or two employees. They are like friends playing with friends. But if you are really serious about running an organization, that HR factor will have to be there, regardless of the premium that you place on it. So if it's like a parent saying, I don't love my children, you brought them into the world. So that's how I look at it. It's weird just hearing that CEOs would not pay attention or show premium to HR. I would say the other part of the equation, another way to look at it is HR really doing what it takes to get a CEO to see the value that HR brings, to the point where the CEO has no choice but to bring in HR at all times? I mean, if HR is demonstrating value, if HR is using the right tools and resources and showing that this is what they're doing to move the company, if HR is actually trying to impact business results and speaking the language of the business, the CEO, I doubt, would ever not place any premium on HR.
If HRs are showing value for what they do, the CEOs will never ignore us. And I believe CEOs who are watching and listening to us and will also learn something from here. Please support us, because if you don't support the HR activities in your organization, then you are only practicing your hobby. And I love that. Jeff says you are practicing your hobby.
You're not running a business.
Yeah. I'm not running a business. I mean, let me give a scenario. Yeah. I set up a small soccer team, okay, and I have 5 people playing for me. I'm just using that as an example. I can choose to say, Mimpel, you say, don't come and do that. I'm just practicing the hobby. But if you want to build a team that's going to win the league in Ghana, that's going to go to Africa, that's go everywhere, you're going to hire a competent coach. You're going to hire a competent physical trainer. You're going to hire a competent XYZ. So then you start looking at the value. So when HR people start applying, you say, okay, what did you do for a previous organization?
Absolutely.
Which sporting club did you take to the different level? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if anybody is serious about their business, I look at it this way: the CEO is the head of HR. If the CEO really understands what they want to do and how they want to use the people factor to impact and grow their business, they're going to show interest in HR. If they're not showing interest in HR, it might be something, something to do with a personal conflict or something of that sort. But realistically, I would doubt that CEOs wouldn't show interest in the people they work with.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So Josephine is back. Josephine says, please, reference is made to the remuneration on termination of employment. Thank you. Thank you, Josephine, for your contribution.
Pat, I've opened section 18 of the Act and I'm not seeing anything like that. I can read it out.
Sure, I've also opened, I think she is talking in relation to the paying somebody when the person is exiting in the middle of the
No, you asked
month.
whether if the person has done half month, the person should be paid full salary.
Yes.
And there is nothing in the Act that I'm seeing right now, unless it's hidden somewhere that I haven't seen. And like we don't know it all. You understand? So I mean,
Absolutely.
Section 18 doesn't say anything like that. Thank you.
I think it only says the remuneration.
It said any remuneration earned by the worker before the termination, right? Any remuneration earned doesn't say, I mean, the full month salary.
The full month.
Any deferred pay, exactly. So let's proceed. Yeah.
Right. So someone is asking. Someone says, what metrics do you use? And this is in the comment section. What metrics do you use to evaluate a problematic situation, especially when you are reporting to your CEO direct? And more importantly, if he as the center of the problem. I'm sure he wants to write if he's the center of the problem.
He is the center of the problem.
Yeah, what metrics do you use to evaluate a problematic situation, especially when you are reporting to your CEO direct? And more especially, or more importantly, if your CEO is at the center of the problem, or if he himself is a problem, how do you handle such a situation?
Well, I would say I'm sure organizations do have employee relations, departments. And when CEOs bring these folks on board, they have to really work with them as an independent arbiter. Because at the end of the day, if the CEO doesn't reflect on himself or herself, if the CEO doesn't really honor, because remember, employment is a contract. The people who are brought in as experts themselves. And the reason why, and from what I'm hearing quite a bit, the reason why people feel like they want to dominate employees is that they feel that, like I said earlier on, it looks like they feel that they're doing them a favor. But these are employees who have gone to school, have their skill sets. They can choose to go anywhere. So every organization should have an employee relations department, and they have to really look at the situation fairly. The starting point, one of the things that HR has to do is to create a fair employment environment without harassment, without intimidation, with the psychological safety. And people should be able to confidently come to CEOs and say, I question what's happening here. So my point is, if the CEO doesn't want to create that kind of environment where people can challenge the CEO, if the CEO is the center of the problem, then what is going to happen is the CEO may not be able to attract competent, talented, I would say, engaging staff. And one of the biggest challenge is when you lose employee engagement, when people think you the CEO are the problem, the morale in the company is going to fall, your business results are going to fall. So maybe there should be some training for CEOs on how to handle employees within the organization. But at the end of the day, I think every employee should be empowered enough to challenge the CEO and say, we are in this together. We're building, we understand it's your money. We're in this together. We're building this together. If you want me to play and score for you to win and win your awards, then let me understand, why are you selecting this person over me? Because I'm the best person. People have a right to ask that. I always tell people, my daughter comes to me and says, you said we should wash our plates after we finish eating. Why are you not washing yours, Daddy? So we have to, the CEO has to ensure, and the CEO together with HR has to ensure that there's that psychological freedom within the organization where people can ask these questions. If anybody feels intimidated asking questions of a CEO, then there's a problem in the organization. And in that case, maybe, I don't know the laws again, but some legal entities have to step in and sanitize the environment, I would say.
Dora, what's your take on it? From our side of the world, what do you think? If the CEO is a problem and is at the center of whatever issue that is going on, how do we handle?
Here in a part of the world, the power issues and all that. So the issue is that the CEO is the overall person in the organization. So there's, right from the word go, there is power imbalance. You understand? So for me, the only refuge that is left for the employee is to go to the National Labor Commission to lodge a complaint. That's it. That's it. Because you are going to set up a disciplinary committee or some investigating body to look into what. It may be possible somewhere, but for me, I think the National Labor Commission will be the best place for the employee to go and seek refuge. If really the person is being harassed by the CEO, and then they may try using the grievance procedure to resolve it. But in the policy, it's saying that the CEO is the final say. You understand? The CEO has a final say. And if it is like that, who are you going to talk to again? So for me, I would recommend that if you are an employee and you are having issues with the CEO, no other person but the CEO, and it becomes that serious and you're unable to cope or thrive in that environment, it's the National Labor Commission that you have to seek redress. That's what I can say.
All right. So Dora is saying that if you are having an issue with your CEO and you think you cannot cope or you cannot address it, or you cannot ask questions, like Jeff is advising that you should be able to ask questions, please go to the National Labor Commission. But Dora, so would an exit be an option? You feel you can't go?
No, I'm not recommending an exit yet. You understand? There is mediation. When you go to the National Labor Commission, there is facilitation, there is mediation. So you are just asking them to help you to resolve that issue between yourself and your CEO. You're not exiting, no. It hasn't gotten to that yet. Okay. If it's possible that there are any mechanisms within the organization to settle it, fine. But I'm saying that here in our part of the world, I have not seen any such mechanism operating in any organization like that. There may be. You understand? If there is, fine. You have to access that facility. However, if you access it and you are unable to, have it resolved, you don't want to lose your job, of course. So the best place to go is to seek refuge at the Labor Commission. You lodge a complaint for the dispute resolution and the industrial relations officers there to try and resolve the issue for you. We are not yet talking about exits.
We are not yet talking about if you run away from your fears, you will go and embrace it elsewhere. So that's please right. Face it. If you have mechanisms that will help you address it, follow that procedure, get it resolved, and then I think you will be fine. So yeah. Michael is giving us a contribution. Michael says Section 18 of the Labor Acts at 651 is on remuneration on termination of employment. And then he goes on to say, I guess any remuneration earned by the worker before the termination captures the principle of paying a proportion of the employee's salary so far Absolutely. As they have not worked for a full month before termination of their employment. All right. So, and then Josephine says, thank you, Dora. So I think Michael has, he's saying the same thing as facilitators have said. So Ma says, what if the CEO does not listen to the HR? And that's what Dora says, that if the CEO is not listening to you and the situation needs to be resolved, it is toxic, it is deadly, it is something that would impede on productivity, go to the Labor Commission, and I'm sure they will help you. I mean, mediation would come in, they would help to resolve the issue.
Pat, can I come in here?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I think we are talking about two issues. The first one was like a conflict between a CEO and an employee. That is how I understood it. And not just when the CEO is not listening to the HR. There is no serious conflict there. So there are two issues here.
I guess
the first one that I addressed was about a conflict between yourself and your CEO. That is why I recommended the Labor Commission, and not if the CEO is not listening to HR. That is a different issue.
Okay, so I guess now you would probably now would have to Ma will have to come back to let us know if it is a different question or it's in relation to the conflict issue. But if it is the conflict issue, then like it's been recommended, please go to the Labor Commission. So Jose is back. Jose is, what if in resolving the issue at the Labor Commission, you lose your job?
What are the legal, are there any legal protections for employees? And if does everything have to go through the Labor Commission? How fair is the Labor Commission? You know, the thing I'm really struggling to wrap my mind around is CEOs, and I don't want to blame CEOs, and I understand from what Dora says the power dynamics, but are people bullying people within organizations? I mean, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. Why would CEOs would be just pushing people away? I'm struggling with this.
Why would CEOs be pushing people away? Is that the question?
No, my thing is, I'm just, so do things that happen in the workplace be taken to the Labor Commission for resolution, or do they have policies within the organization? Are we referring to a CEO who owns the company as well, or a CEO who's equally an employee working for maybe a company that is owned by a different entity? I'm trying to understand this scenario here.
Okay, Jeff, so it could be either way. The CEO could be the owner of the organization, or the CEO could be an employee just like any other employee. However, the person is the overall officer within the organization. And then the scenario that the question that was asked, or Pat, if you can repeat the question, because what I got it was that if an employee gets into an issue, a conflict with the CEO, what does the employee do? Is that the question? Or was that the question?
Right, so I'm going back to the question. I think it was asked by, okay, so Sami, she said, what metrics do you use to evaluate a problematic situation, especially when you are reporting to your CEO direct? And more importantly, if he is the center of the problem.
Exactly. So I'm taking it as a conflict issue. You understand? Center, it's not a work performance issue. So like the HR is reporting to the CEO and making recommendations about something the CEO is not taking. This is not how I understood it. I understood it to be a real conflict between a direct report of the CEO. And that is what I'm recommending that, you know, in our part of the world, the CEO is huge, he's big. I mean, he has all the power. What mechanism do you have in the workplace, at the workplace, to resolve that issue for you? If there are, fine. You know, some organizations have dispute resolution mechanism that they may use, but when it comes to you and the CEO, if it can be resolved within the confines of the organization, fine. Otherwise, I'm recommending that there are industrial relations officers at the Labor Commission who can sit down and have a facilitation for you between the two of them, and then get the matter resolved. Thank you.
All right, the industrial relations officers at the Labor Commission who can help you solve the issue or resolve the issue. We will take a short break, and when we come back, I've seen Yvonne. Yvonne has posted her question, an interesting one on summary dismissal, and I know Jeff and Dora would help answer her. And then once we are done with Yvonne's questions, we'll move on to the other few questions that we have. And so we want to take a quick break and we'll be back soon. All right, welcome back. This is Sedat HR Digest, brought to you by Sedat Consults and Creative Quick Fix Creatives. We have a question here. No, so this is not the question. This question is from Yvonne. Yvonne says that when an employee is summarily dismissed and feels the procedure is unfair, can the employee sue the organization because the union reps were shocked at the decision taken against the employee? I'll take the question again. When an employee is summarily dismissed and feels the procedure is unfair, can the employee sue the organization because the union reps were shocked at the decision taken against the employee? So I'd like Dora to pick this, and then when she's done, Jeff will give us how it is done at the other parts of the world.
All right, thank you, Pat. Yeah, thank you. I like the word shocked by the union guys being shocked anyway. So so once we are all learning now, I think the right word to use there is just dismissed and not summarily dismissed, because dismissal is done summarily. So when you use both words, it becomes a sort of tautology, right? So that aside, yes, if you are dismissed by your employer, you first ask yourself, or I would ask, if I'm a labor consultant and the employee consulted me, the first question to ask is, was the employee given the chance to be heard? Was there a disciplinary committee held to investigate the matter? Was the employee given the opportunity to respond to like what we all call a query, for the person to be able to, give his or her side of the story? If this wasn't done, I mean, the employee was not given a fair hearing and was dismissed, then, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we have a provision in the Labor Act that is the National Labor Commission is there for the employee to access the facilities at the Labor Commission to try and get the matter resolved. Well, I would not recommend I would not recommend litigation initially. So what I recommend is that if all of the questions that I asked, the organization didn't give the employee the opportunity to, for want of a better word, to defend him or herself, the person can proceed to the National Labor Commission for a resolution of the matter. Thank you.
All right. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. At least over here, what I see is a fair and balanced hearing happens for employees whenever first and foremost, like Dora said earlier, the disciplinary process tends to be progressive in the sense that it starts within the organization. They go to maybe the HR department, they work with labor relations, And if things don't work well, they keep, going through arbitration processes. Sometimes it goes to the state's or maybe the county's Department of Labor. If the employee continues suing and things aren't clear, they start reviewing the laws and things. It can go all the way to actual courts. It can escalate. In some cases, you have a lot of organizations that look at various activities. Some would deal with workplace direct practices. Some would deal with practices that are of a discriminatory nature and things like that. So an employee has so many ways to seek redress, especially if the employee is doing the right thing. Now, from what I'm hearing, it looks like the employee in Ghana, in our part of the world, seems to have just a few options. And I think somebody said something from what I'm seeing from the write-ups. Somebody said it's because of demand and supply of labor issues and things like that. But I think that we have to create an environment where people feel that people know that they are also being fairly represented. Over here in the US, I've seen several employees that would take their companies to court. Some win, some don't. It depends on the facts of the case. It depends on the company policies. It depends. I mean, everybody gets given a fair hearing. And the unions and labor organizations, even within the organization, the labor unions, okay, some organizations, some labor unions can say, wait, if you're treating our employee this unfairly, we are all going to resign. Because remember, the opportunities, people can walk away, and some labor organizations can take their companies to court, okay, and sue the company for money to be given to almost everybody based on the employees not acting right. So I don't see that many avenues for redress in Ghana as they are in the United States. And that's why things are looking a bit surprising to me, because from the pattern and the trend that I'm seeing, it looks like people feel like they've been boxed in an environment where they can't say anything, even if they are not feeling good about what's happening in the workplace. But the other side is over here also, when people get hired, what the companies do is they state pretty clearly what they expect in terms of performance, what they expect in terms of work relationships, what they expect. I mean, when people go through orientation, they get clarity on all of these things. Expectations are set right from the beginning, and these are put in writing. So if anybody breaks any of those principles, all the organization is going to do is refer to what you signed, refer to what you learned in training. And you see, they make the facts speak. So people don't take advantage of the scenario just because they are CEO or vice president of something. The truth of the matter, and when it goes to employee relations, even though the CEO pays employee relations, and they are going to do their work. Because at the end of the day, when it gets out all the way into the courts, okay, the courts are going to be fair. And remember, if it's not the person, if it's not the CEO's own money that's running the organization, you may have investors. The CEO can also lose his or her job based on treating people unfairly. So this is an environment where I see fairness, I see employee rights, I see a lot of things. So it's very sad to hear that it looks like employees have been boxed in an environment where they can't speak up. That's, I find, unfair. And if we have any CEOs watching this, it's about time CEOs wake up and do the right thing. That's all.
Yeah. So Jeff, over here too, the unions are very strong. You saw what the writer said, that the unions were shocked. So the question is that does the employee has the right to sue? So I was recommending, I'm not recommending a litigation straightforward, because litigation, I mean, it's time wasting, it's costly, it's acrimonious, it breaks relationships and all that. So the Labor Commission will be the first place to go. You understand? So after the Labor Commission has, given their hearing and the employee is not satisfied, then the employee can proceed to go to the court. But I believe the Labor Commission is able to resolve most of these issues. Thank you.
All right, so we have a question from Monica. Monica says, what will you do when you are in an organization and the administrator take or handling all HR issues, and he even terminates a temporary staff without informing the HR. Then after, he asked the HR to prepare a compensation for the person. If I'm getting this question right, it looks like an institution where they have administration department different, and then the HR department different. So the one in charge of administration terminates or handles HR or HR issues, goes ahead to terminate a temporary employee, and then comes to the HR person to say that prepare a compensation package for the person. I don't know if that is it. Monica, come back if I've clarified your question for you and let us know. But the person says, what will you do?
So I think as an HR person, can I take it?
Sure, you can.
All right. So it's like a head of department terminating the employment of a temporary staff before going to the HR to tell them to pay the person off. It's not too good. It's not. It means that the head of department did not follow the right procedures. The heads of department, the supervisors, the line managers, they should know that they are. They perform HR roles within their respective units. So as a result, they should protect the interest and the name of the organization, but not doing things that would make the organization look unpopular. You understand? So it wouldn't be very right. It wouldn't be professional for any head of department to behave like that. When there is an issue between you and the temporary staff, the best thing is to discuss with the HR, and then the way forward. For all you can even resolve the issue for the person to still be at post. But you cannot on your own just terminate the employment and then go back to HR to tell the HR to prepare the compensation package. So that's what I can say. It's not a proper thing to do. Yeah.
Jeff, do you think the HR person in this organization can decide to say that, well, I wasn't involved in the process, I don't know what happened, and so let's go over the whole process again. If not, I'm not going to get myself involved in this. Is that right to do?
Well, what I'm hearing, how I understand this is from just listening or from seeing the question, it tells me that the organization is dysfunctional. It's an organization that is siloed. Okay, it is not an organization that is integrated, because if HR is doing their job right, and if the termination process should be clearly stated as part of orientation. Okay, whoever is the administrator, there should be clarity. There should be something written, a guidance book that says that if you're firing a person, before you make decisions to fire a person, speak with HR. Let HR look at the person's records. Let HR advise you. So from what I know is over here in the US, when you get called by your boss or you get called by anybody to say they are firing you because they've spoken to everybody and they've made a decision. And they've probably prepared a package for you already. So whoever you go and try to redress the situation with, they'll say, oh, with regards to XYZ case, yeah, we talked about it last 2 weeks, and this one. And if there's anything that you can do, you'll be given a fair hearing. So everything, like most of the things that I'm hearing today, it appears as if the workplace is being portrayed to look as if they're just doing folks a favor. Okay, they're just doing folks a favor, and folks cannot speak back. But every individual is his or her own brand. Every individual is his or her own entity. And to individuals watching this, what I would also say is develop yourself as much as possible. Okay, if you go into organization A and you see this kind of toxic environment, let them know that they lost a good person. Go to organization B and let organization B do so well that they're going to get out of business. So it all comes down to people polishing themselves and people getting the right skills and people standing up to be their own entities to the point where organizations can just push you over. I'm looking at this and this is looking as if, wow.
Okay, so
how people are being treated.
Jeff, let me say something. The Labor Act makes a provision for 3 categories of employees. We have the permanent employees, we have temporary employees, we have casual employees. Right. Mm-hmm. So in our part of the world here, if you're not a permanent employee, it's like you are very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So the scenario that was painted here cannot be meted out or applied to any permanent employee in any structured environment or work environment. Or for the temps and the casuals, a head of department can be, would be able to, play around with that person, but not with the permanent staff. No, you understand? Even though it's wrong, I'm not saying it's right anyway.
Mhm.
The right channels the structures have to be used. The right procedures have to be used. Contact HR, discuss what the person has done, and then see what you want to do. You have to do.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying that, it's like you are a bit shocked at what's going on here. So I just want to assure you that with permanent employees and all that, no manager, no supervisor can, just call them and ask them to go and call HR to pay compensation. It's the temps and the casuals that some managers, some heads of departments may want to play around with. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let me ask another question. Can temporary employees sue in the courts? Can they take those organizations to the courts?
They can,
Okay,
yes.
so then that's the
they
answer
can.
right there. Because over
Yeah,
here,
they can.
we still have categories of workers. We have temps, we have
Yeah.
contract employees, we have all these categories are there. We have permanent staff and things like that. My point is people's rights have to be protected all the way to the courts.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if people are just saying, and there's employment that will as well. People can say, due to your performance, we don't want you anymore. That's different. But if somebody, for example, is sexually harassing somebody and the person speaks back and the person retaliates in a way or something, that person can go straight to the courts. And the courts can come into the organization and say, get this person out of it. The person can go to EEOC. There's so many avenues. But from what I'm hearing, it looks like folks have I know this discussion today has spun more into the employee relations space, which is great. However, I'm also spotting that these guys are trying to say they have very few options to seek redress, very few options to negotiate and challenge organizations because the organizations feel that they're doing them a favor. Every person who gets a job anywhere in the world is being done a favor. But at the same time, those individuals are also doing the organization favors by bringing their expertise to the organization.
Yeah,
okay,
but to some extent, you are very right because of the unemployment rate here. To some extent, you are on point. You are right that some employers feel that they are doing employees a favor for employing them. That's right. So that is why this is possible. It can happen that somebody and a manager can just call somebody and say, "You go home," and all that. Call HR. It can happen here in our part of the world. It can happen. Yeah, but the avenues are there. Most, unlike the Western world, the ordinary employee here in Ghana would not get up and say, "I'm taking my employer to court." But it is possible. People do it. It's not that it doesn't happen. It happens. People do it. When you go to the Labor Commission, you see there are many cases there. Not that employees don't access, but it's not as common as in the Western side of the part of the world. Yeah,
it's not as common as in the Western.
Do employees get to win these cases? Do people win against the organizations and they get organizations fined 2 million, 3 million, give it to this person for what you did to this person?
Well, I'm not able to mention the quantum of fines, but it's what organization. When the Labor Commission makes their determination and you are at fault, you have to pay the employee. It happens, but as for the quantum, I'm not able to mention any quantum here.
All right, so the discussion is getting interesting, and our time is gone, Charlie. But let's look at this. I want us to take 2 questions, and then we would end our conversation for today. But next week we are going to continue because there are a lot of questions we haven't touched on, and so next week we are going to continue. Please send your questions to us in time so we can put everything together and have it answered when we meet next week. Right. So somebody says that how can employers ensure diversity and inclusion in the workplace? How can employers ensure diversity and inclusion in the workplace? Jeff, can you take this for us?
Yeah, I think diversity and inclusion. I mean, every individual is unique and diverse in their own way. Okay, so it comes down to creating a fair work environment where people feel safe and people's individuality is respected. Somebody can be an Ewe, somebody can be a guy. So the whole thing is, these are things that must be inculcated in the culture right away from the beginning. Okay. When you come to, and again, I see somebody saying your environment is different. I'm just listening for a moment, Josephine. When you say your environment is different, for me, I understand the environment in the Western world is different, but aren't they doing better than our part of the world? It means we're doing something wrong. Okay, we have a template to follow. And the way I look at it is, I'm a Ghanaian too. The way I look at it, it's only fair that we create the right environment. If other people have done it and they are succeeding, they're doing better than us. Okay, there's nothing wrong to take it as a template and follow. And I know the efforts in Ghana to get these things done. I think the legal entity in Ghana should come in and really say these are practices that should not be continuing in the country. When we create some of these fair environments, most companies are going to come and invest. I'm sure it's very possible that some of these organizations, when they come and they assess the environment and they realize that these things are happening there, they might say, no, I don't want to do business here. So the more we sanitize our work environments, the more I would say, and this is to Josephine's question, the more we sanitize our work environments, the more we create opportunities for investment in our country. Getting back to diversity and inclusion, I've been doing a lot of diversity and inclusion work. I would say that every person presents unique skill sets. Every person is endowed with unique talents. Every person, humans are the most variable of all variables. So we have to create an environment of tolerance. We have to create an environment of inclusion where the Ghana person doesn't say, because we have 20% guys here, I'm going to go align with them and not deal with Ashanti. We have to reach out to the Ashanti and say, how do you do this thing in Kumasi? So I think these are things that can come through training. Okay, when we bring people in the organization, there has to be constant, and sometimes because we think we're all the same color, okay, because we think we're all the same color in Ghana, sometimes we don't see that need for diversity and inclusion. But we are the same color, but we can have diversity of thought. We can have diversity of opinion. People are different tribes. So these things that are so huge in the Western world, they are equally useful in our part of the world. We just have to pay attention to them. Okay, and the truth of the matter is, these folks in the Western world, we may think that they're getting too complicated. They talk about certain things, but they've been through these phases before. They are more advanced in their development. They've been through these phases before, and they've come to the point where they say, this is how to sanitize work environments. This is how to socialize people so that people can come to work feeling their full self. People can come to work bringing their whole expertise to work, rather than people coming to work and saying, you don't say this around the CEO, you don't do this. People have to be free. They have to come to work and feel. So I think that whole issue of diversity and inclusion, I don't think is drummed that much in our work environment in Ghana, mostly because we think we're a homogeneous culture. But truth of the matter is we're also diverse. Okay, I've been talking to my friends about this LGBT thing lately, and you can tell the diverse opinions in Ghana about this topic. So there are some things that even though we look the same, even though we smile the same, even though we look homogeneous in our presentation, truth is that we are equally diverse. So I think it's absolutely important. It is absolutely important that we pay attention to them before they happen. And one of the things that HR should do more, I would say, is we don't have to wait for these to become problems before we start resolving them. We have to respond to situations than react. Okay, what I'm seeing, and I'm not trying to pass judgment here, but we have a lot of Ghanaians who have these foreign certifications. SPHR. We have all these things. So these are not things that are not known in Ghana. They are known in Ghana. We have very high quality certification courses. Why don't we guide these folks to say Ghanaians are also diverse in their thinking? Let's actually build courses on diversity and inclusion. Let's socialize people. Let's train managers to show that kind of thing. It's important. I mean, let's not think that Abrochi, people think differently that way. These are things that can be applied in Ghana. Plain and Tufi Abrochi, no one about Ghana. It's the same thing. It's just been developed. That's all. We just need to pay attention to the things that are holding us back as a country. We really have to pay attention to it. And I'm a Ghanaian too. I worked in Ghana. I worked in parliament. I know some of these things. But you come to this environment and you feel like I'm living in somebody else's country, but I'm free to voice my opinion. Why can't we voice our opinion in our own country? Anyway.
We can do that. We can do that. The plane that moves from US that lands in Ghana to is the same plane. It doesn't change on its way here. So certainly we can follow same template and do same here. Now Jeff mentioned something about socialization, and that brings me to my next question, which I would like Dora to answer for us. Somebody is asking, how can employers promote work-life balance for their employees?
Work-life balance
for their employees. How can employers promote work-life balance for their employees?
All right. I mean, if we don't know anything at all, 2020 brought COVID, and then everybody now knows that there should be working from home policy or flexi work policy. You understand? So if you have a look at the traffic that we are seeing on our streets, if you are an employer and you can see that really somebody lives in Kasua and comes to work in Accra, the person is an IT officer, and the person can use a laptop to deliver whatever they have to deliver when they come to work. Why don't you make a policy and say that maybe twice in a week or 3 times in a week, work from home, don't come to work, so that at least you take the stress off you, the traffic stress off you. So I think it's about policies. We can develop a work-life balance, policies around the work-life balance, and then run with them. So that's what I can say. So it's just about the policy that we have to develop for organizations to, just do that. It's been practiced in the Western world for decades, and maybe if not centuries. We are now, it's when COVID came that we began to, think about that. But we've been talking about it theoretically, but it never happened until COVID time, when employers, began to know that it's possible to develop policies around working from home and, flexi work policies and all that. So that's what I can say. It's all about developing the policy and then, running with it. And if, as you practice it, if you need to, make variations in the policies, then you do that to suit both the employer and the employee. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dora. Jeff, you want to say something?
I believe Jeff will have a lot to say about it, because it's something that is practiced in the
we
Western
have a
world.
comment from Jerome. He says that some companies in Ghana, like ECG, have put in place gender and social inclusion to enhance work activities. Wow, that's good to know. That's good. Kudos.
I saw that, Jerome. That's very commendable.
Yeah.
And back to the work-life balance, I think what Dora said is absolutely correct. You see, I liken this to going to the restaurant. Okay, people have different work-life balance. Also can be looked as work-life choices. So the balance is not something the company only creates for us. We have to make our own choices to also create balance in our lives. I can choose to say, if this company doesn't offer telework, I don't want to work for this company. So it's like going to a restaurant. They have to offer different meals on the menu. And you have to say, I will eat. Can you do this with an egg for me? Can you do this? So that, because at the end of the day, you want to create an environment where the employee feels his or her fullness and freedom to come work. But at the same time, that employee also has to make a decision and say, working 78 hours a week is going to kill me. I'm going to have to only limit myself to working 30 hours a week and taking my children out. So it's not just something that the organization alone has to create. Like Dora said, the organization has to create the right environment, but the individual also has to say, I can do this, I won't do that. I've had organizations offer me jobs and asking me to do certain things that I said, no, this doesn't work for me. I don't play with my Friday evenings. If I have to do that, I'm sorry. Because no mistake. You know, I'm just joking. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think it's just creating a flex environment where people can come in freely. And, you know, I mean, I've seen people. When I was in Ghana, there was a friend of mine. He would go to work every Saturday because people don't come to work on Saturday. That was his preference. He did the bulk of his work for the week on Saturday. During the week, he would come to the office, hang out with friends, maybe work a few hours, but his work was always done. So when it comes to work-life balance, I know the question said, how do organizations create? And I think Dora answered that 100%, which is create options. Okay, people should have the option to telework. People should have the option to go to there are people who like to go to the office. There was a coffee mug that I saw a while ago in an office. The person said, stop looking at me. I will start working when my coffee starts settling in. You know what I mean? People are free to make their choices as long as their job is done and done according to expectations. So for me, I think that work-life balance is a two-way street. The organization has to provide opportunities for people to pick and choose which one works best for them. Like universities. A university has to offer an exam in person, an exam online. I mean, right now you have hospitals doing it. They say you can choose to see a doctor, which is a little more expensive in person. You can choose to go with a nurse practitioner. You can choose to go with telemedicine. You can choose to go, and each of them have their prices associated with it. That gives the person choice. And when the patient has the choices, the patient might say, okay, today I will choose to work and then do a telemedicine visit rather than go to the office, go to the hospital and spend 4 hours there, losing 4 hours of money. So work-life balance is all about work-life choices, and organizations have to provide those choice opportunities, and individuals have to exercise what works for them.
Work-life balance is a two-way stream. It's not only for the organization. You as an individual must also take that decision to make sure that you balance yourself and your work. Wow. It's in fact, the conversation is getting interesting and our time is up. But like I said, next week we are going to continue with this discussion, and we will make sure that as much as possible we answer if not all, most of the questions that we have received, because we have a lot of questions we didn't even touch on at all today. But again, we need to make sure that whatever question we ask is well answered, so people would know what to do. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much, Dora, for coming. It's been interesting having you. Jerome says very insightful and educative session. Really enjoyed. I enjoyed it too, Jerome. I enjoyed it too. And so next week we are going to continue. Before we finally sign off, I'd like to take final words from our resource person, and once they are done, we would sign off. And so, Dora, your final words.
My final words. It's been very interesting interacting with people who are seeing us. However, we are not seeing them. So, like you said, they should keep the questions coming, and we'll make every effort to respond. To respond to the questions for them. It's been nice meeting everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora. Jeff.
Thank you very much, Patience. There are a few things I want to highlight. Well, I think I see Josephine saying, I will link up. How do I connect with her? I know she wants to talk about diversity and inclusion. I'm very happy to hear what Jerome said, which is that ECG is putting in place gender and social inclusion, programs to enhance work activities. I know that I was in a bit of a shock hearing what is going on in my own country, but I also want to let everyone know that these things that we're talking about that are happening in the Western world, they've been through the phase where we are now. So we have an opportunity to speed up our growth, because we're going to get there. I mean, the conversation, we are going to have these conversations over time, and we're going to get to a point where diversity and inclusion is going to be a big thing. And all these things are going to become a big thing. We have the opportunity to speed up. You have countries in Africa, like South Africa, that have taken the leap. They're actually acting like, the Western world right now. So these are things that they're conversing. It's good. We have we have so many brilliant people in Ghana. We have a lot of these great topics that we can leverage. It's important that we sanitize and work with our CEOs to respect the people that work for them. Because the people that work for the CEOs, it is their collective effort that brings money to the organization. It is their effort that makes the CEOs rich and powerful. And by making those people better, the CEOs are going to be richer and more powerful. So it's a give and take situation. I think it's important. And thank you, Sadat Consult, for bringing up these conversations. And I like the balance of bringing Mama Dora today, who has all the experience in Ghana. She knows the environment very well. And bringing someone like me, who's also seen things on this side of the world, to kind of show the areas where we can tighten things up, the areas where we can learn from Ghana, the areas where Ghana can learn from us, so that at the end of the day, we get that balance. Okay, so that we as a worker population in Ghana, we as employees in Ghana, can also leverage opportunities that are not just stuck in Ghana, but opportunities that are open everywhere. Let me tell you something. I was in Ghana. I applied to schools here and I got a chance. So if a Ghanaian feels like, I'm giving an example, if a Ghanaian feels like they are being overly restricted, they have an opportunity to step back and develop themselves and take courses outside and go be elsewhere. Next time, they could be the one presenting here. You know what I mean? So let us not feel trapped in Ghana. Let's also know we have opportunities, we have possibilities. Okay, I just want everybody to feel encouraged that everybody can. If I could do it, everybody can do it. If I could do it, everybody can do it. Everybody can just get on some courses, go be in an environment where you're going to feel like you are safe, you are respected. You feel that you are respected in the workplace. I think that should happen for both employees and for the CEO as well.
Thank you very much, Jeff. We would speed up our learning process because, in fact, I mean, we must say that some organizations here in Ghana have started doing the right things, and so we believe that gradually the system will be fully sanitized. Sanitation has started, is in progress, but we are very confident and hopeful that we would also get there. And if you're a CEO and you are listening and watching to us, please create that psychological free environment for your employees to be able to speak up, because these are some of the things that will help us. When you box them, then trust me, they will go and join Jeff there. But we want to stay in Ghana and make this place better. I love my fufu and bank. I only go and visit Jeff and come back. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been interesting having you. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on all our social media handles. Next week, we will continue with our discussion and we will make sure that we touch on most of the questions that had come in. We want to make sure that we answer all the questions that have come in. So next week we are going to continue. Don't forget the compensation training that is coming up from 27th to 28th of this month at the Crystal Palm Hotel. We are going to take you through practical experience or hands-on practice on how to design a competitive salary structure and grading so you can be able to reward and compensate and motivate people very well. It's being done elsewhere. We can do it the right way here and get it done the right way. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Hello viewers, my name is Kojo Vaness. I'll be your facilitator for the compensation and benefits training, which is on the 27th and 28th April, organized by SEDAT at the Crystal Palm Hotel at Tesano. This is going to be a time for HR practitioners to have hands-on experience on how to design a compensation and benefits policy, how to design the payroll, how to even design a salary structure. We have done this training for the past 4 years, And I can confidently tell you that every single person that has participated in this training currently is able to design their own payroll, design their own salary structure, and do not entirely need any consultant. So I encourage each and every one of you to register. You can look down there, you get the information needed to register. Make the call Sedat, and let's meet on the 27th and 28th.